asked him if I could participate in a swinger party and explained how it's not cheating. He did this. I'm using a throwaway account for this post because what I'm about to share is deeply personal, and I prefer not to have it linked to my main account. My name is Alex, and I'm a 29-year-old woman. My ex-husband, Sam, is a 30-years-old man. We grew up in a small town. Our parents were best friends before we were even born. This close connection extended to us, and we grew up as inseparable friends. We rarely did anything without involving the other. And then when we got into high school, we realized our feelings for each other, and we started dating and became high school sweethearts. We dated all the way into college, where we remained devoted to each other until we graduated. And then we finally got married 2 years ago, making each other our first and only romantic experience. That means that we were each other's first. We never really got a chance to experiment or explore with other people. For every single moment in our life, we were each other's first. Initially, being each other's first didn't bother me much. I worked as a sales associate in a clothing store because I enjoyed the flexibility it offered. Shift options, part-time opportunities, and the ability to swap shifts made it a perfect fit for me. Alex, on the other hand, had a career in cybersecurity, and he brought in substantial income. This allowed him to handle the bills while I took care of household responsibilities. I opted for a flexible job because I didn't want to be a stay-at-home wife without children, as I knew I would be bored all alone at home. We had plans for kids in our mid-30s, but I guess that's never happening now. Initially, in the beginning, our marriage was like a fairy tale. We had exciting date nights, an amazing sex life, and Alex was incredibly romantic, always surprising me with flowers, spontaneous dates, and helping with chores. Life seemed perfect. As time went by, however, cracks began to appear in what I once thought was a perfect marriage. Despite all the romantic gestures and the fairy tale moments and everything else, I started feeling suffocated and confined in my relationship with Sam. He had been my friend, my confidant, and the only person I had ever been intimate with. While that was very comforting at first, it gradually turned into a sense of being tied down. I couldn't shake off this feeling of being tied down and restricted. I felt like I was missing out on experiences others seemed to have experienced and loved. I got jealous whenever I heard people talk about their adventures, their freedom to explore different aspects of life. I want to step out of the boundaries that my marriage had set for me. Sam was strictly monogamous, and I knew he wouldn't even listen to the idea of an open relationship or any form of exploring outside our marriage. I respected his opinion, and I believed in monogamy too. But for once, I just wanted to see what it was like to explore. It wasn't about seeking love or emotional connections elsewhere. It was about me satisfying this curiosity, my need to experience something different, even if just for once. This desire started changing into an obsession, and it started occupying my thoughts more and more each day. It wasn't that I didn't love Sam or value what we had. It was simply that I was craving for a taste of something new. As I started feeling more and more confined in my marriage, I couldn't help but feel a bit resentful towards Sam, even though deep down I knew he hadn't really done anything wrong. It was more about my own stupid desires and feeling like I was missing out on something. To keep myself from dwelling on these thoughts or even considering something like cheating or suggesting an open marriage, I tried to stay busy and distract myself. One idea I had was to speed up our plans to have kids, thinking maybe that would give me something else to focus on and fill that void I was feeling. But I hesitated because I knew it was a big decision. Then along came Lily. She was new at work, and I showed her the ropes, but we quickly became more than just co-workers. We hit it off, started having lunch together, exchanged numbers, and before I knew it, she was like my best friend. We hung out outside of work too, sharing all sorts of things, and these all happened in less than a month. We became friends too quickly, but back then I was just happier to have a friend to confide in. I had always been an introvert right from my high school days, so I didn't have many friends that I was very close to. Sam noticed the change in me, and much happier I seemed with Lily in my life. He liked that I had a friend, especially since I hadn't had many close friends before. His support for my friendship with Lily made me feel good, at least at first. But little did I know things were about to take a turn I never expected. As I hung out more with Lily, her carefree and flirtatious nature caught my attention. She seemed to have a knack for flirting with almost anyone we encountered, and it got me thinking, especially since she had a committed relationship but still flirted openly. Eventually, I mustered up the courage to ask her about it. Lily told me she and her partner were in an open relationship. That got me curious, and I shared my own itch for something more than just being with Sam. But I knew Sam was strictly into one-on-one relationships. Then, Lily suggested a swingers party. She explained that since going fully open wasn't possible for us right now, trying something like a swingers party could be a middle ground. We could experiment with swapping partners or even having a threesome just to dip our toes into the world of non-monogamy. Her suggestion left me not only nervous but also fascinated and interested. I went home and started searching up all the info I could get on swingers parties and what they entailed. It sounded very wild and I was into it, but convincing Sam? That felt like trying to move a mountain. I knew suggesting such a thing to Sam would be met with a big no. Convincing him to even consider it seemed like an impossible task. Despite knowing Sam wouldn't be open to the idea of a swingers party, I couldn't shake off the excitement. Lily, on the other hand, was very pushy and persistent. She kept nudging me to talk to Sam about it. At first I brushed it off, but her words stuck with me. She made it sound like I was missing out on something amazing if I didn't at least try to discuss it with Sam. So after a few days of thinking it over, I decided to bring it up with Sam. I was nervous, to say the least. I didn't know how he would react, and I didn't want to ruin what we had. But Lily's encouragement gave me a bit of courage. I thought maybe, just maybe, we could have an open conversation about it. When I finally mustered the courage to bring up the idea of attending a swingers party with Sam, he wasn't thrilled. I poured my heart out, explaining how I felt stifled and suffocated in our marriage and my curiosity about exploring and trying new things. I explained that I wasn't suggesting an open relationship, just a one-time experience at a swingers party. But Sam was adamant it wasn't happening. He made it clear that he wasn't interested in any form of non-monogamous activities. He questioned if I was already cheating on him, to which I honestly replied that I wasn't. I was just curious and wanted to try something new. Sam said he strongly believed that any form of sexual exploration or activity outside of our marriage was unacceptable. Despite all my attempts to explain the concept of consensual non-monogamy and how it wouldn't be cheating, he remained stubborn and refused to budge. He thought it was like cheating even though I kept insisting it wasn't. I was gutted. Sam's a strict monogamist, and that was that. He warned me that if I went ahead without him, it meant divorce. No negotiation. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but I had to drop it. But when I confided in Lily about the conversation, she was convinced that Sam just needed a little nudging and pushing to change his mind. As I followed Lily's advice, things took a turn for the worse. I began subtly pushing Sam, trying to change his mind about the swingers party. My mood plummeted and I was always on edge. I began snapping at Sam for no reason. I neglected my share of household chores and my behavior turned sour and rude. Lily, however, was a constant cheerleader. She insisted that I deserved to explore my desires and that Sam needed to give in. Her encouragement was what pushed me and made me believe that I was justified in my actions. Even when Sam noticed my drastic change and attempted to talk to me about it, I brushed him off and refused to listen. As time went by, things just got worse between us. I kept pushing for something Sam clearly didn't want, and it made everything tense and awkward. Our conversations would always turn into arguments, and even the little moments of peace we had felt strained. It was like walking on eggshells all the time. Sam tried to talk to me to figure out what was going on, but I was stubborn. I shut him out, convinced that I was right and he just didn't understand. I was so focused on what I wanted that I didn't see how much I was hurting him. Our home that was once filled with love and laughter now felt like a battleground. I was distant, moody, and neglecting my responsibilities. Sam was hurt and confused and wondering why I was acting this way and why I couldn't see how much I was pushing him away. Despite his patience and love, Sam couldn't change my mind. I was stuck in my own world of desires and fantasies, blind to the damage I was causing to our relationship. It was a very tough time for both of us, and neither of us knew how to bridge the growing gap between us. It got to a point where Sam sat me down and said he wasn't happy with how things were at home. It hit me hard. I blamed him at first, saying it was all his fault. But Sam, being the calm one, made me see things from his side. He said we both had our feelings and thoughts and we needed to work together to fix things. Then in a moment of desperation, I suggested that if he just came to one swingers party with me, it would fix everything. To my surprise, Sam agreed to go to the swingers party with me. I was over the moon. It felt like I had won a major victory, finally getting my way. Lily was all in, cheering me on like a coach on game day. I had convinced myself that this party was the magic solution to all our problems. I was so convinced that once it was over, I would go back to being the loving, supportive wife I used to be, and everything would be hunky-dory again. I was so focused on my own anticipation that I completely overlooked how Sam might be feeling about it. In my head, I figured since he agreed, he must be okay with it. Looking back now, I see how self-centered and clueless I was. On the day of the party, I was so excited and eager. I tried to reassure Sam that it would be fun, but deep down I knew he wasn't comfortable. Still, I brushed those concerns aside, convinced that this was the key to my happiness. As we stepped into the party, I could see the discomfort clearly on Sam's face. He was trying to be a good sport for my sake, but it was obvious he was out of his element. Everything about the party, the vibe, the people, they were all foreign to him, and I could sense his unease. We mingled, or at least attempted to, but it felt forced. Sam was being polite, but I could tell he was way out of his comfort zone. Meanwhile, I was caught up in the excitement, eager to try something new and adventurous. But as the night wore on, it became painfully clear that this was a huge mistake. Sam's discomfort only grew, and I felt a pang of guilt for dragging him into something he clearly wasn't into. When we left the party and got back home, it was like there was a wall between us. Sam was silent, but I could feel his disappointment. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife, and I knew right then and there that things had taken a turn for the worse. My attempt to fix things had backfired spectacularly. The party wasn't the magic fix I thought it would be. I had thought this party would bring us closer, but it did the opposite. It made me see how much I had pushed Sam and how it was driving us apart. For the next few days after the party, Sam was distant. He retreated into silence, barely saying a word to me. Every attempt I made to engage him in conversation or reconnect felt like hitting a brick wall. It was as if he had built a fortress around himself, shutting me out completely. I tried everything I could think of to bridge the gap between us. I picked up extra chores around the house, hoping to show him that I was willing to make amends. I cooked his favorite meals, bought little gifts, anything to break through the icy barrier that had formed between us. But no matter what I did, Sam remained distant and unresponsive. It was like trying to hold on to sand slipping through my fingers. The more I tried to reach out, the more he seemed to withdraw. His silence spoke volumes, louder than any words could. It was clear that he was hurt and disappointed, and I started feeling the weight of my actions pressing down on me like a heavy burden. The guilt started gnawing at me, knowing that I had pushed him into something he never wanted. I wished we could go back to the times when we were happy and carefree. Despite my efforts to mend things, it seemed like Sam had made up his mind. The damage was done. I tried talking to Lily about how Sam was acting, but she just brushed it off, saying he was overreacting. But she didn't know what was going on. When I got home that day, I saw my things out on the porch. Sam had kicked me out, plain and simple. I called and banged on the door, but Sam wouldn't answer. Finally, he opened up and calmly told me he wanted me gone. He said he'd thought a lot about it and felt like I was putting myself first, even when I knew it was hurting him. He didn't yell or scream, but his words cut deep. He wanted a divorce and made it clear that I had to leave because the house was in his name. He'd even packed my stuff and put it outside. I was devastated, begging him to listen, but he wouldn't budge. It was like a punch to the gut as I realized I was about to lose everything because of my selfishness. I begged and begged, hoping he'd change his mind, but Sam remained unmoved. He offered me freedom to do as I pleased, but it felt empty without the love and connection we once had. That was when I also realized that Lily wasn't the supportive friend I thought she was, and that hit hard. I spent a good amount of time just crying, trying to come to terms with the fact that Sam wasn't budging. No amount of pleading was going to change his mind right then. It was clear I had to leave and maybe return when things had cooled down. Packing up my stuff felt like going through the motions of a bad dream. I considered crashing at my parents' place, but the thought of facing their judgment and blame was too much to bear. I knew that they loved Sam like he was their own child, and they would obviously put all the blame on me. I needed a safe space, someone who would understand without pointing fingers. I dialed Lily's number, hoping for a lifeline, but instead I got a harsh reality check. She shut me down without a second thought and placed the responsibility for my situation squarely on my shoulders. It was like a punch to the gut hearing her say we weren't that close and that I had to clean up my own mess. Those words stung. This was someone I had confided in, someone I had considered a close friend. Yet in my time of need, she distanced herself and showed her true colors. With nowhere else to go, I had no choice but to check into a hotel. I felt betrayed and lost. And that is where I currently am. I'm now dealing with the aftermath of this massive mess that I've made. I haven't reached out to family or close friends yet because I'm just not ready for the lectures and the I told you so moments. That's why I'm venting here. It feels safer. I'm not looking for advice or harsh criticism. I just need to let out all this frustration and sadness. I know some people might come around eventually, but right now it's hard to see past the immediate fallout. I'm not sure when or how things will start to feel normal again. All I can do is wait for the storm to pass, take some time to figure things out, and then maybe, just maybe, I'll be ready to face the world outside again. I have faith that Sam will find it in his heart to forgive me eventually. Right now, though, I understand that he needs space to process everything. It's not easy to mend something that's been broken so deeply, especially when I ignored how he was feeling because I selfishly wanted to satisfy myself. I believe time and thinking things through can work wonders. Right now, emotions are intense and messy. Rushing to fix things could just mess them up more. Sam needs to calm down, think things over, and figure out what he wants moving forward. Meanwhile, I'm trying hard to think about what I've done and learn from it. It's a tough lesson, but I know it'll make me stronger in the end. For now, I'll be patient, give Sam his space, and hope that eventually things will heal and we'll find forgiveness. Update. Hey Reddit, it's been about a day since I poured my heart out here. I wasn't expecting such a massive response, but I'm grateful for the support and even the tough love. To address some of the common themes in the comments, I want to share a few thoughts. Firstly, many of you suggested that Sam and I might not be compatible and that it would probably be better if we were to divorce now. I disagree. We've been together since childhood and our bond runs very deep. This was a moment of selfishness and poor judgment on my part, not an indication of incompatibility. We've been through worse before and came out stronger. This whole thing will pass in due time. Regarding Lily, yes, she showed her true colors in my time of need. I've cut ties with her and learned a hard lesson about who I can truly rely on. Now for the update. I finally reached out to my sisters, despite knowing I'd face their "I told you so" reactions. They've agreed to help me get in touch with our parents and other siblings. They understand the seriousness of the situation and are willing to stand by me and help me. The plan is to talk to our parents, who have a close relationship with Sam's parents. With their influence, we hope they can help me get in touch with either Sam or Sam's parents. Sam respects my parents deeply, and I know that their words would greatly influence his decision-making and could make him forgive me. I'm very hopeful and grateful for the support and advice from this community. It's a very challenging time, but I'm taking steps to make things right. Thank you all. Update. Hey Reddit, things have been tough since my last post. Despite my efforts and my family's support, Sam just couldn't forgive me. Sam refused to budge, at least that's what they're telling me. They said they tried to talk to him, but he told them that he couldn't forgive me. It hit me very hard when my parents said I should pack up and come back home because Sam wasn't going to change his mind. I cried a lot after that phone call. The reality of moving back home is sinking in. It means leaving my job, which isn't easy. My parents live about 2.5 hours away, and I can't make that drive every day. I don't even get paid much at the place where I work, but still, little is better than nothing. Thankfully, my manager is cool about it, and we're not short-staffed, so that's a relief. Still, it's a blow to my income, and I'll have to figure that out once I'm settled. I'm grateful for my parents' help and understanding, even though it's a very tough pill to swallow. It's a humbling experience realizing the consequences of my actions and having to start over. But sometimes you just have to roll with the punches and make the best of a tough situation. Update. Hey Reddit, I'm back with a mini update. Things have taken a legal turn. I just got served, and I guess I'll be heading to court soon. It's nerve-wracking to even think about it, and I could really use some luck. Trying to reach Sam has been disheartening. He's not responding to my messages or calls. Even when I try reaching out through different numbers, he quickly figures it out and hangs up. The comments here haven't been easy either. The criticism and negative comments are really draining me. Well, just dropping this quick update for those following along. Thanks for listening. Update. Hey Reddit, this is likely my final update here. Just wanted to touch base with everyone who's been following along from the start. It's been quite a journey. The divorce process was surprisingly straightforward. I had already signed the papers Sam sent over, so there wasn't much of a struggle. With only 2 years of marriage and no children or shared property, there were fewer complications. The house was in Sam's name, so that was something I couldn't take, and honestly, I didn't want to prolong the process. It's been a painful experience, especially with the silence from Lily. I had hoped she would reach out or at least check on me, but that didn't happen. Job hunting hasn't been as smooth as my parents made it sound. It's a competitive market, but I'm staying optimistic that I'll land something soon. The comments here have been a mixed bag, but I appreciate the support and understanding from those who have been kind. This will likely be my last update, so thank you all for listening and being part of this journey with me.